Well, greetings to the board of the Whitehorse Foundation. Thank you so much for your graciousness in the way that this is going to be presented to you all. We had recorded an amazing segment with your team here, and for whatever reason, we had some challenges with the technology, and for some reason a file got corrupted, and so we're doing a bit of a different perspective on that conversation now, and I'm going to do my best to answer the questions that came up in that time in this format. And so I hope that you'll bear with me a little bit. I promise that I'll make this as engaging as I possibly can by answering the questions that I have here from Anna and Asa. And again, so grateful to you all for coming and being a part of the tour here at Link and sharing more of your heart, as well as learning more about what Link is doing here in Marysville and North Snohomish County. So, to start off, there were some great questions that we asked and answered regarding some of our strategy and the way that we engage with clients in kind of the post-COVID times, in the era where there's a little less funding from the state and federal level regarding resources. And so this first question really is about self-sufficiency and self-reliance, things that we have tried to do and strategies we've tried to implement to help people become more self-reliant. One obvious answer to that question, and something that comes up around here a lot, is we have a lot less pass-through funding that comes to us that we're supposed to write checks for clients. So quite a few of our clients through those first years were receiving assistance funding either through rental assistance or utilities assistance or help with groceries or cars or whatever else. And it was coming in the form of checks. And to be honest, as an agency, that was getting really tiresome and kind of frustrating, because we were more a check writing agency in that time than anything else. And though the work was beautiful and we found ways to connect with people along with other resources, just writing checks isn't who we are. And so having less funding in that format to be able to write checks is actually really helped us to improve in that area, and not just be a check writing entity for our clients. Many of those folks that are coming to us now are coming to us because they have a physical, tangible need. They need access to clothes or to food resources or help with getting a job, or student spaces, things that we're doing here in the studio. So they're literally physically coming onto the property and participating in physical, tangible programs, and so that's helped a lot. Both because folks are coming to us with different needs, but also because we can meet those needs over and over again together, and be strategic in the way that we relate and build relationships with our clients. As well, we're trying to ask people to participate in that work now. So that's not just about what we can give you, but it's about how you can contribute to helping others as well. So quite a few of our clients and folks that come to access the services we have, they're also volunteering and they're participating in the work. In fact, we just had a client in here this week that came in and brought in donations, clothing donations that her kids had outgrown, and brought them in, got them all situated here, helped to get them sorted and whatever else, and then was able to access the clothing closet and get some clothes that her kiddos did fit into. So those are some kind of really tangible ways that we're trying to get our clients to go from being client recipients to being client participants, and really being collaborative at work. And then as far as measuring that, it's sometimes it's challenging, because with certain contracts and different things that we get from Snohomish County or Department of Commerce or even state funding, there's a lot of requirements on tracking and measuring, who's using what service. Again, as those funding sources shift and change, we're being a little less strict with some of how we track. Some of that is related to our current political climate and clients needing to have a space where they can come in and be a little less identifiable. We don't want to put people in precarious situations where they may be maybe not able to access resources because of concerns about being identified. But also, we want to make sure that folks are safe while they're here. And so it's not that we're not tracking folks, but we're trying to collect more story data than we're trying to collect tangible physical names and addresses and things like that. Again, we're doing both. It's just not as high a priority of Link Northwest that we have all of the identifying information that folks may require uh, at a higher level. And again, that's instrumental for us, is that there's a little, well, I would say a lot less red tape required of the Whitehorse funding, as far as maintaining trackable information related to clients. We use Casebook to navigate all of that and to manage all of that, but we're not we there's enough gray area that we can serve people in the gaps and serve people that are more vulnerable, and be able to do that. And that this is it's a huge resource to us to be able to do that. I shared that in my, in our report with the Whitehorse board, there was a lot of positive and a lot of, everybody likes to tell the uplifting positive stories of what we've done. That's the put on the strong, brave face for folks. But there are always challenges, right? And so funding has been a barrier for our agency and many agencies in our area and in our line of work. As we've seen different things tighten up and different funding sources go away, it makes it a little bit harder for us to accomplish our work, but it also is a beautiful opportunity to get our local community involved, to find other funding sources and local businesses and other local partners, to be able to get folks involved in the work. And so, I'm an optimist. With every challenge, there's always an opportunity. And so seeing ways that we can get people engaged and get other funders involved in certain things that we do, again, it's a challenge, and there's beautiful opportunities there. I think that with regards to like the work challenges and getting things done, we're in a pretty boxed in space with our facility. There's not a lot of room for storage. We don't have a lot of room for additional things that we would do. And so our clothing closet takes up a fair amount of square footage here. From a storage standpoint, food has become an issue in our community, and people need access to food resources. So the school district right behind us here did a food drive for us, and now we've got food all over the place, and there's just no room to put stuff. So we're feeling that crunch, this need to make do with what we have. But the more there's need, the more stuff it requires to accomplish that. So we did have a generous donor this last spring that was able to contribute and get us a shipping container. So we have a shipping container in the back that stores different things for our for the clothing closet, and for other things that we need access to that for. But the shipping container can't hold everything that we would need, and we wouldn't put food resources out there. So again, unique. Some of the challenges that we have are not say no to some things, to say we'd like to not work on that project that's at this point in time, because it gives us capacity to rethink, to reevaluate how we would maybe serve differently, or in some ways better, based on the program. Again, the funding challenges are a great example of that. When COVID era money went away for rental assistance, it forced us to perceive how we serve our clients differently, and to navigate a different way. Had that money just been an ever flowing stream, we may never have changed that operation. So again, every opportunity that we can to grow and change and be better, we want to take. I've addressed this a little bit as we talked. The take and go model is really challenging, and we don't want to create a reliance on Link Northwest. We don't want people to feel like this is their one-stop shop to get food or clothes or whatever else. We want them to be able to use us for a time and then grow and be able to become more self-reliant. Again, that's a slow process for so many folks. But one thing that we believe in, and that I've been bringing to the agency since the beginning, is really that we can work hard with people, or we can work hard for people. And I think the greatest thing that we bring to the table is that if we can get people to to move on behalf of others, they'll move for themselves as well. So I say this with my own children, volunteerism is the greatest cure for apathy, right? That when we need a solid dose of like, how can we help? The best way to do that is to get your hands dirty and to go to work, right? So helping our clients to become participants in the work, it's not just about helping us to get things done, but it's also about motivating them towards towards service, and then motivating them towards other things. So again, it's not a quick and easy route, though. Like, it takes time and energy to help move people from that reliance to that non-reliance. And I speak, Link's pretty young in this, and so we don't have a lot of long game experience with that with folks. We've seen how it's helped some people, but I see this in our local food banks a lot of times. People have accessed our food banks over and over and over again, and then they become reliant on that service. And then when they can't access it, it's a huge barrier. And so, watching as our local food bank strategize how to help people meet with local farmers to engage on their own with accessing food resources, to budget differently in order to be able to afford groceries or to afford what they can from the grocery store. Just that slow process of development, it pays dividends for people, because the goal is for people to be able to land on their own feet, to be able to work and accomplish those things on their own, and not be always reliant on these services, while also recognizing that life isn't just about what we need from a basic needs standpoint. It's also how I can engage with others, because we're learning to become parents, or we're learning how to parent teenagers, or we're navigating loss because we lost family members, or we lost parents, and grief support. So there's all kinds of things that the Family Resource Center here accomplishes. And with basic needs, the goal is to move them from needing us to relating with us and becoming a part of the family. And so, it's unique. It's hard to see this in the studio because we just don't see the whole building. In the tour, you can obviously see that Link is operating out of an old church. This building has been here for a long time. The folks that come to church here have been here, I think, since the early mid 60s. And so the building, it's a little rough around the edges because it was built by lots of different volunteers over the course of time. It is a church, so there's crosses on the front and on the steeple, and there's a cross in the building. We are not a proselytizing agency, and we're not an agency that is pushing faith or faith values on our clients. It's just not our thing. It's not that those aren't values that matter to us, or that but spirituality doesn't matter to us. We just don't believe that those should be requirements or a means to, or that our things should be a means to a faith value. And so we've been very clear with the church on that, and in the way that we built Link when we moved into this building and started to renovate the agency in that way. We just named with them, the work that we do is separate from the work that you do, and we can collaborate on things at different times. I shared with your team when they were here that the congregation here is pretty old. They're aging. We just had a birthday party for 7 people that turned 80. And so being able to celebrate them and give them the opportunity to participate in our work has been a huge gift to us and to them. But we don't ask them to do things they can't do. So, when we hold events, we ask them to bake pies, or to bring cookies, or, to show up and make hot dogs with us and serve hot dogs during the day. We're not asking them to do any heavy lifting. We're not asking them to, overdo and overextend. Participate as you can and support how you can. And they love doing that. They really love getting involved in the things that we're doing and participating in those things. Again, maintaining separate but collaborating as we can is really a big part of what we do. And then Link is a tenant of the facility, so we pay a lease to the congregation here and to be able to use the space. Maintaining that relationship from a contractual standpoint, so that they understand that there's some separation. But of course, when we pay that lease, it helps them, right? Because they're they're aging and they're at the space that they're in, being able to help them keep the building going. In some ways, it's our gift to them for being able to have as much of the building that we have. We work 6 days a week in here, and then they have it on that seventh day and are able to use it as they need to for their practices. So again, good differences, but enough overlap to make it work. And I would say this is such a beautiful thing, but from the beginning, because we laid those boundaries out and we named those things, we've not had any challenges to that. There's one aspect that we've kind of been broaching and working with them on. There's a big cross in our main family room area here, which is just right outside this room, and it's kind of obvious and a struggle for some folks that have been harmed by the church in their past. Some of our clients that have struggled with that. And so we had to bring that to them and just say, we may need to cover this at times, and let them know that, that was something we were going to be considering and working toward. And they were super gracious with that. We understand. And it's a symbol for us, but it's not a safe symbol for everyone. So again, very, very generous and gracious with us in being able to make some adjustments to that as necessary. We're also recognizing and trying to be really, aware that we're not going to ask them to take all those things down. They've been symbols in their lives for a long time, and in this community's life for a long time. People drive by every day. They've seen this church here for some of them their whole lives, and wanting to be able to honor that while also, navigating how we can serve our people and our clients well. I shared with the team again. We had a client that came onto the property for a training. It was an art therapy class, a painting class, and they'd registered online, didn't realize where our building was. When they got here, they saw that it was a church, and he said, "I'm sorry, I can't." And he just turned around and left. And we found out later that he'd had some harm in his past from a church that he'd been a part of, and just didn't feel safe going into churches. And so for us, that's been a challenge, obviously, of the property. And we have another location in Marysville in the middle of Jennings Park, which allows us to do things in a different space, a little bit safer setting there. We're limited in our hours because it's in a park, and so it's dawn to dusk. And this time of year, dusk comes a lot earlier. But again, we use that space and alternate spaces as best we can. We're also using Snow Isle Libraries, their locations, for some things as well. But from a primary location standpoint, those are some of the challenges that we face with it being in a church building. A question that came up was about decreased funding, both around state, municipal, and federal funding cuts. At this point in time, our budget is solid, and we're not seeing any significant shifts. If anything, we're seeing small increases based on community folks getting involved with wanting to support families in need. And then also there's been some bumps in some of our contracts to provide additional funding for food and supporting people with food. And so we haven't seen a significant challenge or decrease in our funding streams at this point in time. Our budget this year is actually just a touch lower than it was last year. I think the budget came in about $25,000 less than last year. And most of that is because of the ARPA contracting funding, the pass-through money we were getting from the county for that. So no significant threats to our agency from that. And again, I like to say, I mean, you've heard me say this, I see some of those things as opportunities. I really believe that our community as a whole, all of our communities, not just the Lakewood community or the Marysville community, need to get involved with our family resource centers. There's lots of great businesses doing amazing work. They need to know about what we're doing and how they can get involved. There are lots of neighbors that have resources that need to know what we're doing and how they can get involved. And nothing drives, that need for those folks more than a little bit, I wouldn't call it desperation, but some funding challenges, right? Like if we don't need it, we're not going to ask for it. But when we do need it, we can go out and we can ask our folks, and we get a little bit better about how we ask our neighbors and our local businesses to help us. So I also shared with the group, and we had this on camera. It was fantastic, and I wish it would have been saved. But I believe that the Family Resource Center network of Snohomish County needs to be better about how we collaborate with that. There's a lot of great work happening right now with the County Resource Network about collective impact and what we're all doing, how we're what not just what Link is doing or what Take the Next Step is doing or Stand with Camino, but how all 10 of us are interacting with the whole county community. And I think there's some really beautiful narrative there that could be shared with larger funders in the region, right? That we have some very large corporations and businesses in our community that may pay more attention to us as a whole than they would any one of us as smaller entities. So I've been pushing that conversation when I can among the executives of those agencies. How do we collaborate to fundraise together? And as you can imagine, there's challenges to every aspect of that. Who's going to hold the resources? How do they get divided? Who's involved in the conversation? There are far more questions than there are answers with that. But I think the idea of us being a stronger narrative together and more powerful in that way together is an opportunity. It's a strong opportunity for us going forward. A great question that came up, and well, we didn't get to answer this more robustly, but will we see any revenue, or do we anticipate any revenue from the recording studio at Link? And in the past, we haven't actually charged for use of this space, and we've not asked for any funding. We've done we have 4 podcasts a month in here. We recorded the jazz band and choir from Lakewood High School, their Christmas album a few years ago. It's super fun to be able to have this space and to be able to build it out. We had a couple of funders that made this possible, so it didn't cost us anything other than some time and the effort to build it. But one amazing thing that's happened over the last 2 years, really 18 months, we had a recording musician come in and volunteer his time for our fundraiser last summer. He actually would like to start running lessons, piano and guitar and drum and all kinds of lessons out of the studio. And so he's working to build that out, and then we'll be contributing to Link portions of the fees that he charges collaborating with those families. And then Link will be able to host them when they do their recitals in our family room and be able to put them on stage and give them a space to be able to do that. So we don't intend to like charge or to set up a fee schedule for how the studio is going to get used. But if folks want access to this and are able to contribute to the agency and support Link Northwest because they got some use out of the space, we want to be able to do that and give them the avenue. And again, I believe we're one of the only studios in King and Snohomish County to allow students under 18 to use the technology and to be able to kind of tinker around. So it's a beautiful opportunity, and something that that if it becomes a revenue stream of some kind, we would be open to that. We're not looking to turn it into a big money thing, and we're not trying to raise money using the studio, but maybe it helps to pay for some of the peripherals and some of the things to make it function better for folks. And sometimes microphones break, and sometimes computers get too small, and so anyway, those kinds of things, I could see it being more self-sufficient. But with that in mind, this wasn't a question that were asked, but I wanted to bring this up. This last spring were able to purchase the Sylvana Five and Dime, which is a thrift store up about 6 miles from here, about 15 minutes away, that we call our perpetual fundraiser. It's a place for people to be able to donate housewares and furniture and media, music, video, movies, those kinds of things. And then the funding, all those things get sold and purchased, and then the funding comes back to Link. Any profit from that. It's been a very successful year so far. We bought that in February, and we're seeing great returns so far. It's not a lot of money, but I think by the end of the first fiscal year of that, we will have probably raised around $20,000 in profit from that. So excited to have that. It's a great tool for us, both as a small agency, being able to get our name out there and talk about more of what we're doing, but also to raise a little bit of money and help to support the causes and the things that we're doing here at Link. So another great tool and something that that came about this last spring. And then the last question on the list was, what actions do you all take to bring resources out to the community if folks aren't as comfortable entering the church? And again, I shared some of that we use Jennings Park and that we're using the library some. We like to take the show on the road. You know, the reality is people need us to be where they are. A great example of that, we have Thanksgiving distribution happening next week, and we'll be doing meal bag kits for people that want to cook at home, and then pre-cooked meals. We have a team of about a dozen volunteers that are going to leave on Monday and Tuesday and deliver meal kits out to households all across Marysville. And then we'll have a team that's here helping people that need access from our location here. They want to come and pick it up from the building. They can do that with their with our team here. We don't assume that people can get to us or that they want to get to us, but we do believe that people need the things that we offer. And so if we can get offsite and bring those things to them, we want to be able to do that. And whether that's therapists taking walks in parks or folks doing art in the buildings at Jennings Park. We did a parenting class called X Parenting, and we had all of our families meet us in the Jennings Park barn and be able to do that. It's a lot more accessible for folks that are adverse to the building that we're in here. And I would say too, not everybody's that way, and we don't have a lot of folks that come in and go, oh, but we don't want to be a barrier for anyone. We don't want the facility to be a barrier for anyone. So we do take steps to help get offsite and make sure that people have access to us in other ways. One thing that we talked about, I don't know if this will come up in your conversation, and this is certainly not a short, like we're not talking about doing this anytime soon, but eventually this building is probably going to have to come down. It was built by volunteers over a long time, and they didn't take very good care of it in that process. And so there will come a day when the building in Lakewood will need to be torn down and something new built. We've talked about what that can and might look like, but what we know is it probably won't be a church when it gets rebuilt. It will probably be a family resource center with other services under the same roof, and that there may be like an homage to the congregation, that a way to celebrate their gift or their time on the property. But it's likely not going to be a church when that time comes. They're very comfortable with that. And that conversation has come up a number of times where they know that whatever's next here is not going to be a church, but it's going to be something that serves the community in a deeper and broader way. And they're okay with that. And we're trying to help celebrate that and again, honor them in the process. So there'll be a day when it's different. But for now, we're just doing our best to honor them and honor the community and to reduce as many barriers as we possibly can. So again, I think it kind of in closing, I just want to say thank you to you all. You've been an amazing support to our agency for these last, 4 years now. Being able to reach out to you all in the fall and be able to share what we're doing, and also to make requests for funding. It really ensures that we're able to close gaps and to make it easier for people to access services. The folks that need us to have bridges in the programs, right? To be able to find money so that we can pay for lasagna and childcare while they're getting parenting classes, or to make sure that there's those peripherals so that it's easier to participate. And that's the Whitehorse Foundation really incredibly provides for that, for us to be able to help people to be here and to participate in the things that we're doing. So I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for all that you do and all that you've done for Link, but also all that you do community-wide to help us as helpers reach in and help other people. So thank you so much again for all that you do and all that you've been. And if you have any other questions or anything that you would like to know or see, please feel free to reach out. We'd love to share more with you all. I appreciate you. Have a good one.